The story begins with Boston detective Spencer and his partner, Driscoll, headed to Captain John Boylan's house. When they arrive, Boylan has clearly been drinking, and his wife appears to have been hurt in an accident. Spencer later speaks with the court, explaining how he began investigating Boylan as a suspect in Gloria Wisniewska's murder. He reveals how Boylan had interfered with the investigation, covering up something. During the argument, Spencer terribly hit Boylan, which led to his 5-year prison sentence. Spencer has almost finished serving his 5-year prison sentence. During his time in prison, he is approached by Squeeb, a fellow convict with ties to a white nationalist organization. Spencer is flanked by Squeeb and the rest of the group, who have some parting words for him. This sparks a struggle between Spencer and the other members, but he eventually defeats them before being released from prison. Henry Samley, Spencer's close buddy and business partner, has come to pick him up after his jail sentence. Spencer is caught off guard when his ex-girlfriend, Sissy Davis, pays an unexpected visit to the prison to pick him up. Spencer and Henry escape and eventually arrive at Henry's new home, where his dog Pearl is still residing, and he now shares a room with a man named Hawk. Spencer is disappointed to see that, rather than being glad to see him, Pearl has built a stronger bond with Hawk. Later in the day, Boylan is driving home and conversing on the phone with his daughter when he passes a bus stop and continues on his way home. Suddenly, a truck runs over him, and a group of cloaked figures emerge from the shadows to violently assault him, while his daughter listens in fear. Boylan is accused by those who attacked him of disclosing information about their behavior to another individual. After that, one of them takes a machete and murders him. The next morning, when Nurse Letitia returns home, she discovers that her husband, Detective Terrence, has been fatally shot in the head while driving. Letitia is overcome with grief upon the incident. People passing by attempt to console her, as she sobs hysterically. Boylan's case has quickly gained attention. When Spencer becomes the prime suspect, Driscoll and another investigator pay him a visit at his home to ensure that he has no alibi for the crime. Thankfully, Spencer can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was not present when Boylan was slain. Despite the fact that Spencer is now taking classes to become a truck driver, the rest of the police department harbors profound resentment for him and believes he was involved in the murder. Spencer has been deeply troubled by Terrence's alleged involvement in the crime, as well as the media's portrayal of him as a guilty party who committed suicide out of sadness. Spencer is deeply upset by both of these developments. After witnessing Letitia in an emotional condition on television, he is motivated to solve the riddle on his own. He pays Lettice a visit. He knew Terrence personally and was aware of his professional integrity as a law enforcement officer. She reveals that the law enforcement officers who investigated her home appeared to know exactly where a stockpile of drugs that were clearly hidden was kept. She also claims that Terrence last spoke to his friend at a bar. Spencer visits the bar and speaks with another detective, who may or may not be aware of Terrence's connection to Boylan. Spencer apologizes for the manner in which he handled Boylan, but shortly after, Boylan's supporting law enforcement officials enter the pub, attack him, and kick him out. Unfazed, he goes to a nearby convenience store and acquires footage from a security camera that shows Terrence and Boylan talking outside the bar. Hawk helps Spencer keep a consistent stream of footage at his home. Spencer investigates the crime scene to look for any evidence that may have been lost. Following that, he visits Driscoll in a gym, where he denies being at the crime site. Spencer is skeptical of him because he discovered a toothpick at the scene, and Driscoll is known to constantly have one in his mouth. Spencer and Hawk later eat together, but the protagonist's melancholy worsens when he sees his previous sweetheart, Sissy, at the restaurant. Sissy follows Spencer into the lavatory, where they share a quick personal encounter. During their talk, Sissy brings up an earlier pregnancy concern she had, and she recounts how he had pledged to help with it. They both agree, however, that it is better that it did not happen. As they leave the restaurant, Spencer and Hawk notice the same Corvette that had been captured on surveillance video. Spencer is mauled by a guard dog while pursuing the vehicle on foot, cutting across the yard of the residence. Despite this, Hawk successfully locates the license plate number, and Spencer obtains information from the DMV, putting pressure on the clerk. They discover that the vehicle's registration is in the name of an Irish gang member wearing tracksuits, whose name is Charlie Bentwood. Spencer, Hawk, and Henry watch Bentwood get a massage while keeping an eye on what is going on outside. Spencer recalls his early encounters with Boylan and Gloria Wisniewskim. Gloria also fought against gentrification in the Bentwood community as an activist. Finally, Bentwood was assigned to frighten her, but she showed no signs of giving in. After some time, she noticed that her cat was chained to the door. After a few days, Spencer discovered her lifeless body in the trunk. It was left to him to inform Gloria's mother of the dreadful accident that transpired. Spencer grew enraged when Boylan avoided confrontation after viewing the surveillance footage of the thugs who murdered Gloria. This caused Spencer to attack Boylan at his home. Meanwhile, Hawk defaces the Corvette in an effort to infuriate Bentwood. They continue to monitor Bentwood for several days before two FBI agents advise Spencer to halt his inquiry. Spencer pays a visit to Squeeb in the prison in the hopes of gathering more information that may help. In order to persuade Squeeb to comply, Spencer shows him footage of Hawk on a date with Squeeb's girlfriend, which Henry is filming. Squeeb first refuses to comply, but Spencer eventually wins him over. Finally, Squeeb reveals the essential word, Wonderland. Spencer and Hawk make their discovery with the help of a journalist named Wayne Cosgrove. The Wonderland is basically a gambling scam that is run by corrupt cops and criminals. Spencer enters the area to investigate, and is confronted by two gang members, forcing him to flee the scene. Boylan's funeral is conducted with full military honors, as is usual for a law enforcement officer. Terry's funeral, on the other hand, is considerably more low-key, with only a few close friends and family members attending. Elsewhere, Driscoll and his associate, Macklin, are discussing a sensitive matter since an unwanted circumstance could arise, resulting in exposure. Spencer goes to a restaurant, and is recognized by the Trinitarios gang, who brutally assault him with machetes. He manages to defend himself and fight the attackers until Hawk arrives in a car to help him. Spencer chooses to conceal Pearl and Hawk with Sissy for their own security, knowing that the Trinitarios have discovered his identity and may target him. Later, he pays a visit to Letitia's house, which has been trashed, and she offers him an audio recording that Terrence had recorded between himself and Boylan. The tape reveals Boylan was a dishonest cop and that Bentwood, Macklin, and Driscoll were all involved in his illegal activities. It also reveals that Driscoll is the one who delivered the deadly blow. Spencer, driven by an unyielding dedication to justice, hands up the audio evidence to the FBI, hoping it will be enough to bring down the slippery Driscoll. Unfortunately, the feds deem the proof insufficient, leaving Spencer with no alternative but to take matters into his own hands. With death on his mind, he chases down the mysterious Bentwood, a guy who has vital information regarding a narcotics shipment bound for the mythical Wonderland. The interrogation is nothing short of savage, but Bentwood eventually cracks and reveals the shipment's imminent arrival. Spencer and his trusty comrade Hawk do not spend any time locating the truck. A high-speed chase begins, culminating in a thrilling showdown on the road. Two criminals meet their ends, and a hidden stash is discovered. As if on cue, Driscoll's sinister voice breaks through the turmoil, exposing his involvement and chillingly capturing Henry, Spencer's close friend. The countdown begins, pushing Spencer to arrange a risky rendezvous in Wonderland within an hour. Spencer and Hawk are united in purpose and resolve, and they embark on a relentless drive to release Henry, fueled by a fire that refuses to go out. With the stakes higher than ever, they use a truck as a battering ram, crashing into the criminal syndicate's vehicles. The subsequent conflict is a fury of fists, gunshots, and raw determination. This results in an explosive confrontation between Spencer and Driscoll. It's a struggle of intelligence and resolve, and while Driscoll comes close to victory, Spencer's strong will wins. Spencer chooses not to utilize the same ruthless tactics Driscoll had used earlier in an effort to atone for his mistakes. He does not wish to descend to his adversary's level. They apprehend Driscoll, but Spencer remains committed to his ideas. The law is catching up with Driscoll and his crooked cronies, so they leave the dishonest police officers to face the penalties while leaving a trail of evidence against them. Terrence finally receives the justice he deserves, and he is recognized with a hero's funeral and a scholarship for his son. Spencer, Hawk, Henry, and Terence celebrate their victory with a special dinner. Spencer, on the other hand, notices a news item about a fire chief who has been detained despite his claim of innocence. It reminds Spencer that his fight for justice is far from over. He feels compelled to continue his search for the truth and pursuit of justice. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.